guess morning has broken.
We are your consecrated hosts.
I'm Father Jeff, consecrated by holy orders.
I'm Jonathan, consecrated by baptism, as you can tell.
Yes, as you can tell. You can just see the glow of holiness there around you. Can't you? Aww. Oh, Jonathan, how are you?
Good.
What's new? What's exciting?
You ask me this every day.
I do. We're gonna have work day today.
Yeah.
So the office, you're not gonna find any of us in the office. We're going to be at a remote location, undisclosed.
Yep.
Hiding in our bunker, doing some planning and preparing for the upcoming year, and looking at even stuff in the near future, like how are we going to do Christmas this year in a pandemic, and how are we going to move forward, and what's the next year going to look like?
You've mentioned this before, but it seems like with the pandemic, especially now that things have come back, when nothing was happening, life was kind of easy because
it was just routine, regular.
So much routine.
Nobody came to the office.
Even to do something you normally used to do, it takes 3 times as long to plan.
Oh my gosh, because you have to plan for every contingency and figure out how are you going to do this, and how are you going to welcome, thousands of people and create a safe and inviting space where you're not turning folks away like Mary and Joseph at the inn, which may still be very much possibility. I may be the innkeeper this year.
Yeah, we just don't know.
I know, I have no idea.
We don't know. And so
those of you planning your Christmas plans and how you're going to celebrate Holy Mass for Christmas, you absolutely have to go to the website of the parish that you are planning to attend and find out what their policies and procedures are going to be for Christmas Mass this year. Because every parish is going to probably be able to do and will be doing something a little differently. Some places are going to be taking reservations, some are going to be handing out tickets, some are going to be assigning seats, some are going to be having multiple masses in different locations, like in the gym and in the church and in the parish hall, all happening, 10 minutes apart from one another. So you just have to check the parish website and don't just plan on showing up to some place because there may not be, nobody wants to turn anyone away. But that may happen if you don't make your plans. And there will be live streaming, so also check out that, when and how the live streams are going to happen. Do we know how we're going to do it at St. Charles yet? Not really. We have some ideas, but we have to think these through now.
Yeah, we've got different options.
We have a couple options. We talked them through last evening. You had already left the office to go get your boy, but we were kind of sitting around thinking and planning things through, and Jackie came up with an idea, so we're going to work through that more on Thursday, I think. Tomorrow. Today. Oh,
Today
what day is it? Oh my gosh. Yeah, just today is our strategic planning day. See how ridiculous all of this makes your mind? It just flips it over.
And I won't even be here for Christmas.
Thanks a lot for helping out.
I figured this
all
is...
hands on deck, except this one.
So now I am at the mercy of...
We're looking for a new director of evangelization and discipleship. We're taking applications beginning on December 24th. So please fill out a thing and send it to me. We'll get back to you.
Please don't.
What's going on, Jonathan?
I'm going down to Houston. So every other year I go down to Houston.
Just you? You're leaving your family behind?
No, my family's coming.
Okay, that's a good thing.
But... it's kind of hard.
You're driving again?
We're driving.
Wow, that's just, I couldn't.
So I'm at the mercy of whatever parish we go to down there. I don't remember the name of it. I can look it up.
Okay. It's in Houston? South Houston?
Katy.
Where? Oh, Katy.
Katy. So, but yeah, so I'm going to have to look up and see what their situation is, because we go there twice a year sometimes and once a year the other year. So...
you have to check their website out, because you may have to start signing up on their thing right now.
I'm not looking forward to it, because it seems like not all parishes are is up to...
Houston is fair, from what I understand, just knowing folks in Houston. There's, number one, right now, Texas is in a lull in terms of the boom of COVID outbreaks and whatnot. There's not a whole lot, as much happening in Texas. When you look at the maps, it's not in the red zone, and there's a lot of variance though on how the parishes are, if they're coming back, if they're opening up, how they've opened, what the policies are, this, that, and the other things. So you don't know what you're going to encounter.
Well, the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston is huge.
It is huge.
I don't know how it is.
It's one of the largest archdioceses in the country, and it only has one bishop. I am shocked that Cardinal DiNardo does not have auxiliaries. I think he's like getting an auxiliary or wants to get one, but I don't.
I mean, they just gave him that and then said, "Hey, you be in charge of the USCCP."
Well, he's done with that now.
I know, but he was double duty.
He was double duty.
Ugh.
That's a big job. Well, but now it's Archbishop Gomez of Los Angeles, which is also no small diocese. But Galveston, Houston is it's huge.
And it's so spread, yeah.
And it's spread out, the sprawl.
But we're not talking about me. We're talking about St. Charles, and we are making a plan.
We're coming up with a plan, and we will have that rolling out this weekend so that I'll probably mention it at all the masses just so that people start hearing this like 50 different times, how to prepare and plan for Christmas.
Yeah, don't be that person that shows up at 3 o'clock on December 24th, say, "Why can't I get in?"
Because Mass will have already started. We're probably doing an early Mass this year. 3 o'clock.
Yeah, so don't be that person.
Don't be that guy or that gal or that
But
kid.
it will be live streamed, and
We're not exactly sure which one we're going to live stream yet. We haven't decided. No, we haven't decided.
And I'm going to try to do what I need to do to make it on Facebook and YouTube remotely.
We'll see how that all works.
Yeah.
So all these things to plan. So that we got an agenda for later on today. So as soon as we're done with this show, boom, we're heading down to the bunker. And we're going to do some strategic planning and just some practical planning. Like, how do we do everything that's coming up to be done?
Yeah, it was probably about a year ago we had our first one because we started getting so busy and so much going on.
In our limited space.
That we had to get together and say, what are the things we have to get in the calendar now and plan ahead for?
What are our principal foci?
Because if you wait until a month before, even 2 months before, sometimes you cannot find a place or time.
Yeah. Well, so we got a full day ahead. We need to get going with this thing. Today is December 3rd, the feast of St. Francis Xavier.
Yes.
He's kind of the second St. Paul.
Yeah, he's a beast.
He was one of the first Jesuits, so we're talking mid-1500s.
Yep.
St. Ignatius sent 2 guys out right away, and Francis Xavier was one of them, on missionary work. And this was a time when Mother Church was, she had a lot going on in Europe to begin with. I mean, part of the reason why the Jesuits were founded was to respond to the Protestant Reformation. Like, you needed to send guys out there to start, beating back this heresy that was rising in the church and calling people back to a faithfulness.
Yep.
But at the same time, not just taking care of your own nest, there was the recognition that, boy, we have to be an active missional church. And so the first 2 Jesuit missionaries were sent out, and Francis Xavier was one of them. And he made it. He was missioning in India and the South Pacific and kind of the Philippines and all the way up to even Japan. And he had desired to get into China, but they dropped that Iron Curtain so fast that they wouldn't let him in, even back 500 years ago. Not much has changed.
Not much has changed. But, yeah, I don't know how many people he baptized.
Thousands.
It was
thousands, at least 3,000.
There's stories of, his companions having to hold up his arm.
He was so tired baptizing. Yeah, thousands and thousands. I've been a priest for 20 years. I've not baptized thousands. Maybe a few couple hundred. I don't know. It's I'd have to think back. Even if I did 50 a year in 20 years, that's not gobs.
No.
That's not huge. Not compared to Xavier. But he just, his memoirs just record that, all these people, especially the young, they were hungering to learn about the gospel. When he would share it, when he would talk about Jesus and the cross and the resurrection and faith in the Trinity, and people were the kids were eating it up with a spoon, and they wanted to know. And Francis Xavier was so upset that there weren't more people in the church who were missionally focused.
Yeah. He'd be pretty mad right now still.
He would be a saint for modern times.
Oh, yeah. He's the fire that he had to go out with, because it wasn't like he went into places that weren't hostile. A lot of the places he went were very hostile to the message, but his passion and zeal for Christ really carried him through and, converted all those people he encountered.
Absolutely. Just think of all the hurdles, the language hurdles, just the travel hurdles. I mean, he's not flying around in a plane or getting in a motorboat or a yacht to, trek around from place to place. And, the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the mountainous regions of those areas. Holy moly, he was probably missioning for about 11 years. And like you said, baptized and made thousands of converts, and just really had that fire for Jesus. He encountered the Lord. Mm-hmm. He knew who Jesus was, and he just wanted to share that with people. That's really at the heart of evangelization.
Yeah, and I think if you have a true encounter, a fulfilled encounter, you can't help but want to do that.
You want people to know what you know and to have what you have.
It's overwhelming, and so there's actually a book. I wanted to plug it.
I'm sure there are many books.
There are many books. So this is a dramatic biography type deal.
Okay, so like an interesting history or something.
Yeah,
like
so it reads like a narrative almost, but it's biographical. So there are some liberties probably
like a historical fiction, or
probably that's the
maybe
word.
Something, or they've
fiction.
fleshed it out and then turned it into a story. Yeah,
it's called Set All Afire. I'll post a picture of it here.
Okay,
and it's just awesome telling of his life. It starts at the university with Ignatius and Peter Faber.
Yep,
and it just kind of journeys through his journey, and
cool.
I think that missionary spirit we all need to have a little bit more of. We really keep our faith hidden.
We're learning to not.
We're learning to not.
The church really, especially here in the United States, especially in the Archdiocese of Omaha, we're really, trying to set that goal to be mission focused, that we are reaching out, that we are proclaiming our faith, that we're making ourselves known, and we're making Jesus Christ known, more to the point.
Right.
That's why I think Francis Xavier is a great model for today, because that's what the church needs, especially in these days where there is kind of a pulling in. Number one, because of the pandemic, but number two, just because of the way culture is. That there's not a friendliness towards Christianity or to the church anymore, and so that's going to be more and more difficult as we go forward.
For sure.
Absolutely. So St. Francis Xavier, pray for us. That's great model for today. What's our Advent calendar looking like, Jonathan? We're tracing our way through salvation history here as we work up our Jesse tree, beginning with the creation of the world, and then the fall, which opens the first proclamation of the gospel, that you, Satan, will be destroyed by the son of a woman. Absolutely. What do we have today?
Well, those humans
after the fall
are at it again, screwing up, debauchery. God said, all right, we're going to reset.
Push the reset. Noah and the flood.
Noah and the flood.
We chose, again, we've got these dreary, we've got the fall, and then we've got the flood. Noah and the flood. So what we find is the the effects, the consequences of sin have left that concupiscence, that rawness in the heart that now desires wickedness and evil. And the world has gone wicked and evil. And so God says, well, this is, we've just got to push the reset button. But in so doing, he also is foreshadowing what is to come. And this is one of the beautiful things about reading the Old Testament. I think a lot of people are afraid of the Old Testament because it's like, oh, I don't understand it. There's a lot of imagery and stories and blah, 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 and the history and these big names and unpronounceable places. And
is it allegory? Is it blah, 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 blah,
yeah, I don't know what to, I don't know. But if you read it in the light of what you already know and experience, all of a sudden your eyes just open up. And so the story of Noah and the flood is, here is a world tainted by evil that is cleansed through the washing of water, that evil is destroyed by water, and that from that water arises new life. Now, Jonathan, what does that sound like?
Can't be baptism.
Could it be baptism? Maybe it is a foreshadowing of baptism. So the story of Noah and the flood really is a story about, we're seeing that it is always God's plan to cleanse the world and to cleanse sin, to cleanse evil through the washing of water. That water is the source of life. Even way back at the beginning of creation, God talks about the Spirit hovering over the waters, and out of the waters comes land and life and all of these things. So here we see it again in the great flood. There are these waters, and out of the waters the mountain arises and the ark parks itself, and they get out. You know how many people were in the ark?
Is it 4? 5? 4?
Try again.
2?
Try again.
3?
Nope. 8.
8.
There were 8 people in the ark. And that is symbolic because the number 8 always means a new beginning.
Oh.
Remember, we've talked about that on this show, that in baptism, traditionally baptismal fonts are octagonal. They are 8-sided because it is symbolic of the 8th day of the week, Dies Domini, the Lord's Day. So you have the first day of the week, creation, all the way to the 6th day of the week, Friday. The 7th day of the week is the Sabbath. And then Jesus did something new by rising from the dead. It wasn't the old creation. Mm-hmm. So this 8th day, this new day, which replaces the first day, and they become one and the same. So the 8th is always the old regenerated and resurrected into the new. So it's significant that there were 8 human beings in the ark, that they would be the new beginning.
So did Noah have 6 kids?
I don't know. I'm not. I'm not big into the Noah family tree.
Okay.
Well, he didn't have 6 kids because these were like kids and spouses. So maybe he had 3, and then he had
because the traditional
or they were their kids, and then they met other human beings that somehow didn't get destroyed in the flood. I don't know. The waters are murky.
Okay.
Lots of things got stirred.
Because that's what the oral tradition of the story, not maybe biblical tradition or whatever. It's like, well, it was just Noah and his family got saved.
Yes. And I don't remember if that was his extended family, it was the spouses and whatnot. Have to look that up.
His family back then was very different, just like brother, sister.
Here are the names of the folks that were in that ark, and now you can see how they are related to Noah.
Yes, here they are.
Yep. Noah, the kids and their spouses probably, and then all the animals.
2 of every kind.
Or 5 and 2. There's 2 stories of the flood, which makes things kind of confusing. In one story of the flood, 2 of every animal, a pair of every animal, are brought onto the ark. In the other story of the flood, 5 of all clean animals are brought on, or 5 pairs of all clean animals and 2 pairs of all unclean animals are brought onto the ark, which gives you a total of 7, which is the total of completeness. So in other words, all were brought on the ark.
What about like fish?
They lived in the waters.
So they were all fine?
The fish were fine. I'm assuming.
See,
the waters didn't turn to blood. That comes later.
That was. I think we're gonna have that one at some point.
That comes later. But the real special thing. So here's all destruction, and all this destruction and foreshadowing baptism. The purpose of adding this commemoration to the Jesse tree is once again to remember the promise of salvation, that God saves His people, and that God always makes provision to save His people, but He also invites us to participate in that salvation. Noah wasn't just magically, here's a boat I'm going to give you. He had to participate in his salvation.
Yeah.
He had to work at it. He had to build a boat, an ark.
To specific specifications.
He had to. And it was not easy work. And without his participation, he would not have been saved. And that, I think, also speaks to us today.
Yeah, and that works with, I think, is it Bruce Almighty, the movie?
Yeah, well, or Evan Almighty, or
one of them, whichever one had the ark.
Yes.
It's like he gets ridiculed. It's like, well, why are you building this big boat? Same thing back in Noah's time, I'm sure.
What are you doing, you silly man?
You're a fool. You need to be out getting food for your family, not building this thing.
Yeah.
And then just now, the way we are called to participate in our salvation, we're going to get ridiculed. And we're going to say, why do you do that? It's a waste of your time.
It's a waste of time. That's the big thing. And everything spiritual is a waste of time. And
salvation.
Salvation, which is more important than life on earth. And when Noah and his family and the aminals step out of the ark onto dry land, here he offers sacrifice to God, which, those poor animals that survived the flood and then got picked for sacrifice. It's like, yay, we made it! You, and you on the altar for Holocaust. Well, there you go. God gives this promise. So we see a covenant being formed between Noah and God that no matter how unfaithful you are, I will remain faithful. Mm-hmm. So we there's a difference between contract and covenant, where contract is this relationship where here's your role, here's my role, and if you break that, it's broken. But a covenant says, here's your role, here's my role, and if you break it, I'm not letting go. And so God establishes really probably the first covenant with humankind that says, even if you break this again, I'm not going to let you go. I'm going to remain faithful. There will be no total destruction again. There will only be life. Beauteous.
Yeah. And like the fall, this ends with that hope. So even though there was a lot of grief, maybe sadness, that it still ends in hope. And God gives you something to look forward to.
Yes. That it's always God's plan. He can take anything negative and bad and twist it around and bring good out of it. He's the only one that can do that. I mean, I think human beings sometimes want to say, well, I'll do something bad for the sake of a good outcome. We're not capable of bringing good out of evil. Only God is capable of bringing good out of evil, because He's the only one that can create something from nothing. Yeah, didn't work, Jonathan. Noah and the flood. Noah and the flood. The story of the flood is also recorded on clay tablets found in Nineveh. Recent archaeological excavations confirm widespread floods that almost completely wiped out the inhabitants of the Tigris-Euphrates river valleys. Noah's construction of the ark shows how God inspires people to use inventiveness and ingenuity to preserve life, even during great cataclysm. When one considers, for example, the vast extent of the Ice Age, it is providential that humankind survived, even though many forms of prehistoric animal life did not survive. Let us pray. We thank you, Lord, for the ability that you have given humankind to share in your providential care by developing ways to preserve and care for life. And we add the symbol of the ark and the flood to our Jesse tree. Let's plant that somewhere up here, shall we?
Looks good.
Yeah, why not? There we go. So that's just, it's a good reminder that life is worth protecting and life is valuable and that it is, God desires life and we have a participation in that life. It's what moved the saints like Francis Xavier to bring the message of the gospel to others, and it's what moves us to do this little show. It's what moves you to do the acts of charity and good works and penance and prayers that you do.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, Jonathan. I hear the others coming in the other room, so we need to get going. We need to go hunker down in the bunker.
I need to get some Red Bull.
All right, you got a few minutes to do that because I'm starting on time.
Okay.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.